If you have never questioned your ideas, you aren't really trying. You haven't actually stepped into the bigness that you're capable of. Let me start by saying I'm sleepy. I am very sleepy. And I was on my way to bed when it became clear to me that I had to record this before I fall asleep. Because as I was getting in the bed, you see this mess? Now, if you recall from episode 4, it's not as bad as the last time I was in a mess. And you'll see there's been some updates to the space since then. We're going to talk more on that later. But I just needed to show you this because, again, if you were here for episode 4, Embrace the Mess, then you understand why seeing this was like, whoa. It took me back to that episode, and more specifically, the wisdom that came from that episode about not being afraid to embrace the messy parts of our journey. And more specifically, to share those messy parts, not only to encourage others through their own messy seasons, but also to normalize it. Houses be messy, processes be messy, growth be messy, life be messy. It be messy. So I was reflecting on that message and also reflecting on what was happening in my life. As I had mentioned in that video, was coming off a month-long travel, so I had a bunch of clothes everywhere that I had not had a chance to unpack or put away. And I'm in a similar situation right now. The reason why this mess is here is that I have been in a whirlwind. I traveled to New York, came back for 24 hours, then traveled to the Bay Area. When I came back from the Bay Area that week, because I came back on a Saturday, from Saturday to Saturday, I spent that whole week prepping for 2 panels, both of which I am moderating, which means that I need to be on meetings to prepare, and I need to connect with panelists to make sure that I have things right, and all the things that are going on. And one of those panels, I actually not only moderated, I basically produced, right? And so stick a pin in that. So with all of that travel, all of that work, and all of the things I've been doing, I was journaling today, just reflecting on what it's been and the pace and everything like that. And if you recall in the last episode, I shared with you a little bit of anxiety that I had about this pace. And I decided that, yes, I can do this. I can sprint this year out. The next few months, I can go head down, focus, speed through. Got it. So because I decided that, I'm locked in and it's all happening, right? I'm planning for these 2 panels. I'm prepping to go back to Costa Rica for a little bit, check on the house, which is going to be done soon. Just a lot going on. So as I'm preparing to go to bed, because I'm exhausted from all of this, and I see this mess, I'm instantly taken back to that episode. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm reflecting on that message. And then I'm reminded of what happened immediately after that. Episode 5, you'll see when being becomes doing. When I remembered what happened immediately after the messy hallway episode, I understood that as a transition. A transition from being to doing, which is what I talk about in episode 5. So the very next episode, I'm like, oh, that messiness was me being in the whirlwind of a transition. And it was just my external environment reflecting my internal environment. That's basically what it was, right? Like, this looks a mess because what's going on in here? It's in disarray, right? And I'm like, oh. And so here we are in a mess again. By the way, this is episode 8. So I don't know. Are we seeing a pattern every 4 months? Transition? I told y'all I'm blowing through this season faster than I ever have. I've been here before. I've done these steps. I know this is the formula. And because I'm applying it with intention, I am zooming through these phases in ways that is blowing my mind, actually. So just noting that pattern, we don't know. We'll see. We keep going. We'll see if that holds up after a few rounds. But so far, it's every 4th episode seems to be a sense of transition. Last time it was from being to doing. And when I tell you I have been doing things, the TED Talk, the podcast, which we recorded 2 episodes today. We're recording 2 more episodes tomorrow. I have drafted a couple of things. I've pitched a few ideas to some folks who I want to do some creative collaborations with. I have some ideas for other things I want to do here on this channel. And then I'm still working on the writing project in the background, which I've given myself until the end of this year to complete. And I'm about just over halfway through with it. So when I tell you I have been doing, when I had that transition episode, the last time I had the messy hallway episode, and I came back on the other side, recognizing that as a transition. Now, here's what I think is happening right now. I've done 1 million panels as a panelist. I sit there, questions are asked, I share insight as I feel moved to do so. That's easy peasy, right? Moderating is different. Moderating is different. And the art of doing that, and what that means about who you select to be on the panel, what that means about how much time you allot, the types of questions you ask, the tone and the mood that you set for the room so the audience is prepared to receive what the panelists have to offer, the logistics of just other things that I didn't even think about, and thank God that I had a team of folks there to support me with. All the things that I just named about what goes into the art of moderating really stretched me creatively. Producing this panel really opened me up to how I want to move as a visionary, somebody who sees very clearly the end result of something and wants to lean on the talents and the gifts and the treasures that others bring, and their perspectives and their insight and their understanding and their approach, like bring all of that into this beautiful orchestral symphony of creative gifts, and take this vision that I have and paint it to life. That's really what I want to be able to do in creating experiences. And I have an idea that came to me the other morning that I just typed out and wrote down. I have people, literally, I sat down, and as the idea was coming to me and I was realizing all the different parts of it, I was thinking about the people in my life that I'm already connected to, because Issa Rae told us to network sideways.
We have a tendency to try to, like, when we network up, and it really is about networking across, like who's next to you, who's struggling, who's in the trenches with you, who's just as hungry as you are, and those are the people that you need to build with.
Connect with the people next to you who are doing things that a collaboration would be beneficial for everyone. As I was writing out this vision, it started to become clear to me the various parts that I would need to outsource to others. And then it started becoming clear to me who I'm connected to, who actually does those things. And then I started to feel really excited in the way that I'm familiar with, the way that moves me into action. I get excited about things and it'll just be like a happy moment. Or I'll get excited about things and maybe I'll write it down, but won't go past that. I'll get excited about things and I might write an outline or a draft or, and it might not go past that. But there are things that I get excited about and I can't stop thinking about them. And every time I think about them, it becomes more and more clear why this thing is something that I should pursue. And then it just grows, and the excitement and the gratitude and the anticipation and the visualization and all of it, it just grows and it grows and it grows and expands till it just takes up so much space in my mind that it starts to consume energy in ways that make it go from a thought to a thing. It's no longer just an idea, it becomes an experience. I've done that many, many times over. And so I know what that feeling when I'm on the sort of dawning of that, when I'm on the precipice of that, I know that feeling. And if I am, in fact, in a messy hallway transition, what I am being called to is this bigger expression of the doing, in that I'm not maybe the main character, but I'm the visionary behind the story. Because everything I have created thus far, I have in many ways been the main character of. When I owned the fitness studio, I was I was the only one there teaching classes. I had other people coming in to train clients, but I was the only with that one. It was me. I was the main character of that story. Certainly the main character of this current story that I'm living, as a consultant and a contractor, right? Like I have to show up to these things. I have to do this work. And I love it. I appreciate it. I'm not complaining. What I'm saying is I am now foreshadowing the shift that I'm inside of. And that this messy hallway is the hallway that is leading me to a more visionary perspective of what I create versus the main character, versus the primary face, name, etc. It's really not about me. And it never has been. But I feel like now, even though I've always understood, oh, this is also very important. Even though I've always understood it's not about me, when people experience what I do, they try to make it about me. Like, oh my God, you're so great. You're so this. And I receive it all. Let me say that. I do. I receive it all because I understand what is meant by that. And I receive it in the context of you have just witnessed the highest version of yourself as expressed through how I reflected you back to you. And that made you feel all the things that makes you feel, right? And because I facilitated that experience, you attribute what you feel to me. And I understand that. So I receive that. And it's really about my own gratitude for being a trusted vessel. So it's never been about me. And I think now I'm being called to a way of creating that makes no mistake about that. Like it's not even in a position to be, I'm no longer the face of the work that God is doing through me. That's it. That's what it is. I'm no longer the face of the work that God is doing through me. It's always been God doing what God does, me being a vessel, open and available to share that. I'm no longer going to be the face of that, is what I think is happening. And that actually is so interesting, because we talked about fear of judgment being one of the reasons why we mask or hide our messy hallway seasons of life, right? Like, we went a little bit into depth of that in that episode 4, the Embrace the Mess episode. But going back to sort of that lesson, recognizing how often that meant I shied away from things because I didn't want the messy hallway to be seen. And how that means that I didn't allow myself to be the face for a long time. Then I grew into being okay with being the face. And now God is saying, I no longer need you to be the face. The world will know me when it's time for the world to know me. I am not here for fame. I'm gonna tell you that for free. And it's crazy because going back to yesterday's experience at the podcast, and this is like, I'm moderating a podcast about mental and emotional wellness for men. There's men and women in the room, good range of ages, but when I tell you the number of people pulling at me, trying to get my attention, after this, and this is just like a couple dozen people. I can't imagine if it's a couple hundred people or a couple thousand people. Like, what are we talking? Million? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yesterday I said, oh, I get why people have entourages, and I get it. Like, you need that buffer. You need that buffer. Because even just energetically, like, I just poured out so much. It was a 90-minute panel, right? So I'm doing all the things that I'm naming. I'm moving the conversation forward. I'm keeping the audience engaged. I am, creating space for the gifts, talents, and wisdom experience of the panelists to come forward. And I'm doing all of this, right? And staying present in the conversation while I'm thinking about all these other things so that I can move it forward and I don't sound like I'm interjecting some random thing out of nowhere. Like, I'm still staying present with the conversation. Like, I'm doing all of this. And after doing that for 90 minutes, I stepped down from the stage and the audience members are like, oh my God, all the things that you said, and can I have your card, and are you taking clients? And I was just like, oh, okay, wow, hold on. Because my brain is still on the stage a little bit. And also, who are you? Like, so like a lot. So I can't imagine with me doing a panel, couple dozen folks, if that's a lot. Fame, or like, that's a lot. And it's not that I'm avoiding or afraid of it. It's, I know what matters to me. Like, and that doesn't. So if I'm only doing a thing because I could be this, that doesn't matter enough for me to do a thing that I don't otherwise want to do. Right? So I'm not avoiding the fame or avoiding notoriety. It's just not a thing that I want. I don't, right? And so if it comes with doing what I do, whatever. But I don't want it. So I'm not going to do a thing simply because that's a possibility. I'm just not. So that as I think about that statement and I'm thinking about where I am in this moment and this shift that feels like, oh, I'm getting ready to move more behind the scenes as the visionary, doesn't mean I won't be present or visible. It just means that I'm not the main event anymore. Like, how it's just me and my camera and y'all. That's still going to be present because it's a part of my process, right? And I think it is still valuable to share what I'm learning while I'm in my process, but that what I create, now that I'm in the doing phase of being a creator, what I create, I'm now understanding I will be in the background. And that's exciting to me because now, going back to the sort of fame and where it falls on my spectrum of value and importance in this journey, I have always said I want to be famous inside of whatever I do. Whatever I do, I want to have notoriety. I want people who are in that world, in that lane, in that industry, in that whatever. I want those people to be like, oh, yeah, I know exactly who that is because my work stands out. But I don't want to necessarily be generally famous to like Joe Schmo walking down the street just because my face is plastered everywhere and like they have no choice but to know me, right? Like I'm not interested in that. And so this isn't even about like that as much as it is about me revisiting some of these values that have always been present with me and how they continue to guide me throughout the various seasons and maybe show up in different ways, or manifest in more sort of broadened contexts, but the core is still there, right? And it's really fascinating to me, and this is where I begin to like start to feel really deep gratitude. It's really fascinating to me to see how the different iterations and versions of me intertwine and intersect, and how the essence of who I am has been present throughout all of these seasons. And I'm now getting to a point in my life where I can look back far enough and see multiple versions of that idea or that truth emerging through how I move through the world. Like that, and I believe if we're talking about even just growing older, that's the kind of wisdom that we speak about elders having. That ability to look back at the various seasons of their lives, various versions of themselves, and see the common thread. And those become the universal truths that when we hear them spoken, land and resonate and live within us. And it plants seeds for more truth to spring forward. And it creates this garden of ultimately liberation, because all that is springing forth from your thoughts and your words and your actions is your truth, right? And when you're doing that, you're essentially free, right? Like when I am living from my truth, and that means my thoughts, my words, and my deeds reflect that truth, I am free. And so just knowing or believing that I'm growing into that season of my life as a creator, that feels inspiring. I feel very inspired to create from that place. And I feel very excited to pull together a beautifully talented group of people to bring this vision to life. Like, this is exactly how I imagine. Ooh, this is how I imagined the creative journey to feel. Now, hold on, because I'm now being brought back to a moment. I saw something online earlier, and when I saw it, I was looking for something else completely. But when I saw it, I felt something internally that was like, screenshot that. I'm going to see if I can find it or if it's only on my computer. Hold on. I might need to get my computer. Give me a
A
second.
few moments later.
Okay. Okay, here it is. So it was the emotional cycles of change. And I read it and I said, this sounds like the creative process. So it starts with uninformed optimism, and that is the initial excitement and focus on the potential benefits of the change with little regard for the challenges. That's of the thing you're going to do, of the thing you're going to create, this vision. Oh my God, this is it. Perfect. Uninformed, specifically, optimism. And then you immediately go into informed pessimism, which is the realization of the difficulty and potential downsides of the change, leading to a dip in your morale. Now tell me you ain't got started on something, got in the mix and said, oh, this ain't it. This is not what I thought it was going to be. That is the informed pessimism. And then, my friends, we go into the valley of despair. The valley of despair is the darkest point where the effort and challenges feel overwhelming and one might question the viability of the change. If you have never questioned your ideas, you aren't really trying. And I don't usually try to tell people about none of, but I'm gonna tell you what, if you ain't got in something and said, now hold up, I got questions. If you've never had that experience, I'm going to suggest that you haven't actually stepped into the bigness that you're capable of. You haven't. Because when you do that and you stretch beyond what you thought you could do, there is inevitably a moment where you question that decision. It just is. And if you can relate, please back me up in the comments. And then from the valley of despair, you moved into informed optimism. Come on, joy that cometh in the morning. Okay? This is a realistic understanding of the effort required, but with growing confidence that the goals are achievable through continued effort. So, damn it, it got hard. But you know what? I got this. I can do hard things. And it's going to take, I'm going to have to push. It's going to be a stretch. But I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to be able to do it. And then finally, you move into success and fulfillment, the completion of the change leading to a sense of achievement and a positive outcome. And so those are the emotional cycles of change. So as you are navigating the various seasons of your life, the various versions of yourself, and you are reinventing and reimagining and stretching the field of possibilities beyond what you could have conceptually even imagined, whatever previous version of yourself. When you are doing that, you're going to move through these phases from uninformed optimism to informed pessimism to the valley of despair to informed optimism and to success and fulfillment. And I feel like right now I am in the informed optimism phase. I've been doing. I have now a sense of what it takes. And I'm feeling settled into the reality that this is going to be a stretch. And you said yes to that stretch and you leaned in and now you're feeling what it feels like. And it's exactly what you anticipated. Uncomfortable as hell. You're tired. I'm tired. I'm exhausted right now. It was literally like 8:30 when I was crawling into bed. Okay. But in any case, I'm glad that I followed this nudge because I needed to connect those dots and to remember what that transition taught me when I just went through it a few months ago. So that as I'm going through it again, I can navigate it with grace with presence and affirmation that, yeah, I got this. I got this. Yes, it's hard. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, the pace is moving quickly. And I got this because it's just through the end of this year and it's setting me up for the next thing. So, I think now I have said all I need to say for today. And it is 10 o'clock and I finally get to go to bed. Yeah, but I'm grateful for this moment. And I am grateful for this mess. That's about to stay right there because I'm going to bed. I'll do it tomorrow. Bye.